Anyway, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. My name is Yusuf Saeed. I am a media practitioner. I make documentary films, and I've been studying how the media has been playing out in India over the past few years, and what the kind of misuse of media that we have been watching for some time now. I shared with you, I hope you've seen that little one-page PDF in which I mentioned a few, uh, points that I would like everyone to consider. For example, one was that when we are dealing with an issue like communalism and hate speech, it is not like when you fight for environment or fight for the cause of gender equality and so on. Communalism is something that a lot of people have a problem with. When you talk about hate speech, some people would wonder, whose side are you on, which hate speech you're talking about. Like when I announced this workshop, this course on Facebook, at least two people came and said that, what is this you are doing? You are going to spread more hate by making this thing so visible. So I said, no, that's not the case. Why don't you join my course, and then we'll decide. Anyway, so that's one point that we have to be careful. Secondly, whatever be our own identity, whether we are Hindu, Muslim, whatever, we have to keep that aside when working on communalism. I mean, if I am criticizing somebody of the other religion or the other community, um, the people of the other community should not, feel apologetic about it, and vice versa. So those, plus I would like all of you, and especially the younger, more, younger lot, to join this movement. It is a movement. It's not just like a course which you do for a career advancement. It's a movement for this country, for the constitution, for the tolerance, for the peace of this country. So you have to join this movement, and you have to continue for, like I would say indefinitely, because I have been working indefinitely on it. That's one. Thirdly, I would also like that whatever activities we are doing, we keep it to ourselves right now. I have noticed that many friends like us who are sort of secular, liberal, we like to post things online on Facebook. Whatever we find, we make fun of the other community, or the more rabid kind of right wing things. We make fun of that, and we just assume that we've already played our part, by making fun of somebody. That's not the case. I always believe that the people who are indulging in hate speech or in communal activities, they are basically unwell people. We have to treat them as, somebody who's suffering from this communal uh, virus, and we have to treat them like unwell people. And we have to, like if you are a doctor, how would you treat your patient? You would treat them with caution and with care. You would not reject them completely, or you not make fun of them. So I would like that to be one of the things. So anyway, let's begin. Actually, this was just an introduction that I wanted to have on camera, but most of my presentation is actually through a slideshow. So I would like to come to this slideshow. I hope that uh, not too many more people are going to join, because I have to admit each one of them. Um,
So if I may,
Sorry.
nothing. For next time, you can disable the waiting room so you don't have to keep letting people in. Not
Oh,
for
okay.
right now, so that
Okay.
there is not pressure on you.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine. So can you see my slideshow? The
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so let me begin by some of the studies that have been done on this, and you can see a lot of books that have been written about how hate and how internet and media is being used for the last few years to win elections, to do all kinds of campaigns, political campaigns, as well as corporate campaigns, how the corporate world works. So there are many of these books that you will find. You can buy them, you can read them. I've gone through some of these, and some of them are familiar books, like Pratik Sinha. We know Pratik Sinha has been running this alt news. Then many other people who've been working on this, people have done specific studies on Facebook and how the troll army has been created. The Swati Chaturvedi, she was trolled after writing this book. So we have seen that many of these books have been written which talk about how internet and Facebook and social media and the mainstream media has been used to win elections and to win and it's amazing how games have been played, political games have been played. For example, this Pulwama attack, which happened in 2014, I think. No, this happened just before this election, and how the entire media played to the gallery and tried to win the people for a certain political party. So many of these studies are available. So we are not talking just by in the air. It's all there. You can see how these things have been done, and not just in India. It's happening internationally. Internationally, the internet and Facebook and social media and the whole big data and all these things are being used. They are being manipulated and exploited to for the political gains, for corporate gains, and to change the whole scenario, and especially to curtail human rights and to curtail the people's rights, and just a few corporations which are supposed to have their interests gained. Just a second, let me put this microphone here. Many of these books, you can see how surveillance capitalism has been used for to sell things, to sell ideas, and to change the people's attitudes, to change even to overthrow governments and so on. Coming to India specifically, we've seen how elections have been won by creating these cyber senas and IT cells. There are so many of these. This IT cell has become such a big, powerful thing. So, I don't have to repeat this. We all know, but it's important to see, to what extent this has gone. So I just picked up a few of these logos from different places. So every city, every district has a cyber cell, of course, of the BJP, but also other parties. I mean, you can see this Congress also. I don't know how successful or how effective the other parties are, but definitely BJP is very, very effective. And the kind of money that has gone into these kind of IT cells and cyber cells, and the way they have, made inroads into villages and through popular media like WhatsApp and so on. The thousands of websites, hundreds of websites were created to have these fake news. Every day, almost every day, we come up with these fake websites. So, and not just to win elections, but also some very unfortunate things have happened, through WhatsApp and through rumors. People have been killed. People have, these sort of mob lynchings have happened because of of this media. I don't want to get into the details of this, but now the point is that what do we do? Where the situation that we have, where do we stand in this? What do we do? So some of us, we obviously don't have the power, we don't have the resources to fight such powerful institutions like the IT cells of the political parties. But what can we do? We need to counter hate speech and fake news by a dedicated and trained team of volunteers all over India and the world. And if you cannot be connected to such a team, or you cannot be part of such a team, at least in your own individual life, what can you do? What can you at least be vigilant in your lives when you are visiting internet and so on? So this is an introductory kind of a session where I'm going to give a overall survey of what all possibilities. But after this, I'm going to go into the specifics. Like next week, if you want to join, I'm going to go specifically into one area and then talk about how you can do, for example, what you can do on social media, what you can do in discussion forums, what you can do to bust fake news and hate speech and so on. Okay, so what are the tasks that our volunteers or even you as individuals can do? You can detect fake news, you can detect fake photos and videos and report them. How do you detect them? We will go into that in detail. And where do you report them? We will go into the details. You can detect the bias and prejudice and the sensationalism in news, which you notice. You can participate in online discussions and debates and influence the people who have such negative thoughts. You can kill rumors and false news, discourage people from forwarding or sharing fake news, show them how what they're sending is wrong. And you need to build online communities and campaigns on sort of constructive themes. Persuade your friends to join those communities. Those communities are very important, because when you enter internet or social media, you just don't exist alone. You have to be part of a community, and there are very interesting communities, some very good work happening. So you be part of the communities, not only the positive communities but also some of the negative things, some of the more destructive kind of work which is happening. You have to see what they're doing, and you have to make an intervention into those. So build those communities. Then you can also write petitions and complaints and maybe public interest litigations. You can take help from lawyers, because there are many lawyers who are available. I'm sure all of us have friends who are lawyers, so we can take help from them. I also write a lot of petitions. But just by writing a petition and making your friends to sign a petition is not enough. You have to actually take that petition after the signatures to the authorities, to the person who it is aimed at, and take it through to whatever goal. And I can talk about a couple of petitions that I ran, and we were able to make some success in those. And then, of course, we have to promote peace, secularism, equality, democracy, justice, environment, science, scientific thinking. And we have to make these, design these memes and posters and various kinds of, there are so many things, so many creative things that you can do on the internet, not just sort of negative, beat the negative things, but beat the negative things with some creativity. There are a lot of creative ways to do that. You can make videos and memes on tolerance and harmony and equality and so on, post them in different places. You can post positive news and links and images on social media, and persuade the people to spend less time on internet and more on the real world, because that is another thing. We are all spending so much time on the internet, that this technology and the corporations that are ruling it, that are controlling it, they are controlling our lives. So one of the ways to actually run away, to get out from that, is to spend less time on the internet. So that is something that we need to, and we need to tell our people, our family people and our friends to do that. Okay, now I will come to this, and I'm doing this in very short, like in a sort of, we will go into the details of each of these later. So how do we recognize fake news stories? Some of us are already familiar, some of us who are journalists or who are already in the media, we know how to sort of, you can, for example, if you get a news, read the headline and what is behind the headline, where what is the detail that is there in the news. Check the news outlet which has published it. Check the date and time. This is also very interesting. Sometimes a lot of people post news items on social media which is old news, let's say a 2 years old news, and which makes some sensationalism. sensational kind of a thing, and people go after that. They don't realize that it's an old news, or 3-year-old news, or 5-year-old news. So look at the date and time, who is the author, who has written it, what links and sources that are used in that, what are the photos and quotes that have been used. Look at the bias that the person, the writer, is using. And most important is that look at the news in other outlets. If one newspaper or a television channel is kind of uh, mm, having a news, you should go and look at the same news in other newspapers or other TV channels to know whether it is a verified news or not, or whether how is it is being reported in other newspapers. So look at that. When you have done all this, only then you should think about sharing it further, because this is what we do. We just see a news and we just share it further. Now, how do we judge and rate newspapers and news portals or TV channels? There are many ways of doing that. Again, I'm going
मतलब सिर्फ खबर
quickly.
लगाने से हमारा काम नहीं होगा। खबर
Sorry.
लगाने के साथ मीटिंग भी होनी चाहिए, मीटिंग के साथ
Uh,
यूजीसी भी आनी चाहिए।
can we do the discussion or questioning later? I don't know. Somebody is making a comment. Can we do the this discussion later? Because this is what I had mentioned, that I would like to make the presentation, and after that, if we have the time, you can always have the discussion or questions. So
Yusuf, mute all other mics. Mute all other mics other than yours.
okay,
Mute the mic. So
fine. Anyway, so I was saying that how to judge and rate newspapers, news portals, TV channels. So you have to look at the past history, the record history, and authenticity and credibility of that newspaper or TV channel. What is their editorial policy? What kind of leaning they have, what kind of ideology they follow, whether they are left or right or center or neutral, religious or scientific or dogmatic or whatever. You have to look at that, because this is very important. If you find that a newspaper is always remains on one side of the ideology, then it's always a little problematic. Look at the newspapers or TV channels which promote scientific thinking, which promote secular thinking, and kind of remain neutral. Look at the language they use, the sensationalism language. Look at the reputation of the reporters. What kind of reporters? How do they perform on camera? What kind of language they use, and their anchors and so on. This is very important. The amount of advertisements and commercialization which a television channel uses. For example, if a newspaper or a TV channel is giving out a false news, a fake news, look at the advertisements which were supporting it at that time, and you can actually announce it online or on social media that, look, this guy is talking about some fake news, and who's supporting it? So and so brand is supporting it. That's very important. And then also, who owns that company or the channel? That's important. You have to look at all these things. That will give you an overall picture of what kind of newspaper or what kind of TV channel it is, and whether it is trustworthy or not. There's a very interesting sort of a kind of a graph somebody has made. It's not made by me, but I found it online, and I think we can create our own graph like that, which talks about which are the most extreme left oriented channels or the right oriented channels, which are more factual reporting and the misleading newspaper, and so on and so forth. And they try to put some in the middle, which are least biased or the kind of more trustworthy. So this kind of a thing we can create on our own. You should all create this kind of thing. Maybe make some kind of a chart, and put these logos of different things depending on how you rate them. You need to do your own rating, and this would be very interesting, very useful in an educational institution, let's say college or a school. You can put this up and show people that this is, if you find that some newspaper is going towards right more or left more, then you can always and it's a very subjective thing sometimes. Sometimes it can be very objective. And I've seen this sort of a chart even internationally, like internationally in America or Europe, what kind of newspapers are more factual, which ones are more left or right or whatever. So you can create these sort of things in a very interesting way. Now, how to validate a news? Always validate a news with more than one channel or one newspaper. Always look at how it is being reported by others. Um, how one event is being reported by different channels in different ways. If a news is reported only on a sort of a lesser known TV channel, then and it's not reported anywhere else, then it's definitely a very doubtful news. Or sometimes it happens that a lesser known channel from a local area reports something and no other channel is able to reach that local area. So maybe it is worthwhile, but still always try to validate a news from more than one source. I mean, this is something that happens in every field, not just journalism. It happens in science, scientific thinking, scientific research. When scientists do a research, just one person doing a research doesn't count anything. You have to validate it with other. History writing is also something like that. When somebody writes a history, just one historian saying something doesn't make any sense. So you have to validate. So every piece of information has to be validated by different sources. Then there are certain ethics and protocols of journalism. I mean, if you are a journalist, you have gone through a certain learning, you've gone through certain training. Unfortunately, many of our journalists, many of our news anchors, I don't know how much training or how much experience they have gone through. Many people just picked up a camera or just picked up a thing and started reporting. They have not gone through that kind of training which tells you about the ethics and protocols. So that if you find something, then you can always report that. What are the sources of information, whether they are real or what kind of record a certain reporter has. So all these things we need to look at, and then there are fact checking websites or agencies which which you can consult. There are many agencies which are actually doing quite a good job. I will there are just a few examples of the fake news that we saw recently, and some of them were like really very very silly, but people just go by them. Like somebody said that UNESCO has declared PM Modi as the best prime minister of the world, or UNESCO declared Jan Gan Man as the best national anthem, and so on. And then Republic TV tweeted that President Kovind has got like 3 million followers in 1 hour. And later on, it was found out that it was fake. Then Imam Bukhari has the money to buy, imported cars, and he can't pay electricity bill. This was also fake. So there are many of these fake news which we see every day. Then just recently, I saw, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, it said that Indian Prime Minister has been made the chairman of WHO, and then the people are congratulating him. So it turned out that there is no chairman of WHO actually. Um, so these kind of funny and stupid news which we get to see. Then I saw this Hindi newspaper which said that if there was no Savarkar, then 1857's mutiny would not have become a history. Then it turns out, I said that what is this? Then it turns out that actually Savarkar was born in 1883. So he was born obviously after 1857. So how could he have been a part of 1857? So these kind of statements our politicians make, or anybody who makes these kind of politicians, and people just believe them. Because people like us who are sitting here in this meeting, we can figure out, we can gauge something whether it is true or not. But a large number of people, I guess 80 to 90% of the people, they just believe whatever is told to them, whatever comes to them. So we need to, besides criticizing the media for its fake news, we need to also empower our ordinary people, our masses, to critically and look at the media, what kind of bias and what kind of fake news it's coming up with. So here is a little list of the different websites you can visit. I can share this list with you, and it's there on our website also. So some of these people have been diligently working. Alt News is one of the most active one. Actually, they're every day they're coming up that they're busting fake news almost every day. Boom Live is also there, Fact Checker, and now actually many newspapers, almost every major newspaper has a fact checking section. You can go to the Hindu, you can go to the Hindustan Times, and many other newspapers which have a fact checking section. The later in the list, some of them are international websites also, and in fact this internews.org is supporting the training of journalists in fact checking. This Google News initiative is also part of that. In fact, one of our friends here, Kumbai Anwar, he is also conducted similar workshops on this. And if anybody is interested in attending the training workshops by Google News Initiative, they can get in touch with us, or they can, I can put you in touch with them. So there are many of these people who are, many of these websites, but I still think that these websites are not enough to bust the fake news. We need much more work. We need many more people to come up with working on this. And why not create our own sort of website and do this kind of fact checking? And I think that apart from the fact checking, we also
अब बोलिए,
influence
अब आप
this
कर
hate
सकते
speech and hate messages, because that is something a lot of people are doing fact checking. Very few people are actually doing this influencing in the of the hate speech.
हैं। हाँ, देखिए
Okay,
इधर उधर
just
फटा
a few
पिस्टल रखते
examples
थे।
I wanted to show you of how people manipulate photographs or manipulate things. So when there was this Shaheen Bagh protest was going on, somebody posted this Rohit Sardana posted this photo saying that there is a 500 rupee fee being paid to the women in Shaheen Bagh, and that's how it is running. But then we found out that actually that the real photograph was this, which said that CAA and NRC, it was actually against that, but somebody manipulated that photo, and so there are a lot of this manipulation going on. There are many examples. It's a very famous photograph which has been circulating. Which this one shows that a Muslim and a Hindu are drinking liquor. Then you turned out that it's actually water bottle which they were sharing. So people are doing a lot of very creative, very kind of thing of manipulating images. Then this particular image, which shows the Prime Minister Modi in a huge crowd, gathering millions of people, he's making a speech. But then it turned out that this was a photo of, some grain, some kind of dal, or some seeds of maybe something, which was pasted with Modi's picture. So it's not a real photograph. So many of these kind of things are happening. And of course, Gandhi, Nehru and Congress is the favorite thing of this sort of a thing. So the first photo shows that Rahul Gandhi is sitting with a photo of Babur, or Mughal Emperor Babur at the back, but it turned out that actually the photo was of Gandhi. So many of these things, you find them, and some of them are very easy to spot as fake, but some you need to do some research. I have done a lot of these kind of things. For example, there was a photo which was circulating saying that there's a picture of Mahatma Gandhi with a small boy of 5-year-old who looks like a very Tibetan boy. And people have been circulating saying that this is Dalai Lama, baby Dalai Lama with Gandhi. And I said that this is a little, I don't think baby Dalai Lama with Gandhi is it really true? Then I did some research, and I first found out that Dalai Lama was born, around 19, so that photo was actually from London, because you could see the brick wall, which was not Indian kind of background. It was from London, and Gandhi went to London in 1931. That's the last time he went. So this photo was from there, and then I found out that Dalai Lama was born much later, and he didn't leave Tibet until 1950s. So obviously that photo was fake, but even the Tibetans have been circulating that photo, saying that this is Dalai Lama, baby Dalai Lama with Gandhi. So there are many of these, even innocent photos which go around. So we don't trust anything which you see just on its face value. Always criticize, always doubt about what you are seeing. That's the only way you would be able to figure out what's happening. So many of these photos, there are many tools available online. We have on our website, we have put a list of links which you can try. There are tools available on which you can trace the photographs. For example, Google Images is one tool. You can actually pick up a photo and drop into this Google Images, and it will tell you if there are any other versions of that photo available on the internet, and what is the history of that photograph, if it was posted earlier by somebody. In some cases it can be successful. Sometimes this Google Images is not successful because obviously it is working with the artificial intelligence, and it can throw up a lot of other things which you don't need. So but there are lots of tools available, the tools which will tell you if the photo has been engineered, it has been doctored or not, if a video has been doctored or not. There are many ways to find that out, which the tools are available, and those tools organizations like Alt News are using. So now obviously I'm not asking you to do all this. It all depends on how much time, how much dedication you have, and how much really you want to get into it. I would say that it needs the effort of all of us to actually learn some techniques, some things, to do at least some basic fact finding. Now what do we do once we have found a fake or biased news? What can we do? So obviously the first thing is that to never forward or share any news without validating, without confirming it. You can go to a newspaper section. If you find a fake news or something doubtful, you can go to the newspaper, and every newspaper has a comment section, and you can write your comment. You can say that this news is not correct. Of course these comment sections are also very troublesome, because there is so much trolling happening there. People are coming and writing all kinds of fake things, bad things, and abusing somebody or the other. So you have to be careful with that. As long as you can quietly leave a comment, at least your comment should be authentic. It should talk about what is the reality. So you can do that. Then you can write to the editor or reporter about the bias which is there in their story. You can report or post on social media. Like if you find some fake news, you can always take that link and report on social media and say that, look, this newspaper is doing so and so, so that more and more people get to know about it. There are also something called the hashtag. A hashtag is basically where you put a hashtag and then you put the particular keyword, and say that this newspaper is doing this kind of a thing. Now by putting that hashtag, anybody who searches that keyword will actually see your post in many cases. I can go into it in detail in later sessions if you need. I mean, I'm just giving you a very generic thing. Then you can report fake news or false news or hateful news to the government agencies. There are many agencies which are available. Of course, people would wonder whether one can trust the government agencies or not, but I'm sure there are many agencies. I mean, if you talk to the officers in those agencies, the IT departments, they will say, yeah, we are sitting here, you tell us what is the fake news, will act on it. I've met many people who said that, yes, you give us, you report to us. Even the police says that you report to us, we will take action on it. So you can do that. You can report it to media watch groups. You can also file court litigations against false and fake news. Take the help of lawyers. Some of us have done that. Then of course you can boycott the channels or portals that report these things. But I have a problem by boycotting, that once I boycott, then I don't know what they are doing. So I boycott them, but I also keep a vigil on them, what they are doing, whether they are still producing fake news or false news. So it's you have to really do a tightrope walk when you are covering these kind of things. Then yeah, as I was saying, that the government has certain agencies, you can tell them. So if you find like these are the advertisements which came out after the Northeast Delhi riots, which happened 2 months ago. So they said that, you can send a message to us, we will take action. So there is a cyber cell, a cyber crime cell of the police. You can go to the website and you can make a reporting on that. Maybe they will take action. Some actions have been taken on that. Delhi police has several things. They also do some awareness campaigns for teachers for this kind of thing. Once again, I mean, I'm just giving you the information. It's up to you whether you you actually think that some action will be taken or not. But I mean, we should use these kind of things. Okay, I'll just quickly come to some of the social media platforms that are being used. These are some of the platforms that are used. Obviously, some of us in our daily lives, we don't get into these, all of them. We don't have time, and not everybody can spend time on these social media platforms. Maybe we can follow one or two, maybe Facebook or WhatsApp. Almost everyone have. Twitter, some people have. Instagram, very few people have. People use these for different purposes. Some people use them to run their business. Some people use them to make announcements about their work, about their product, about their different kind of campaigns. So I also use that for various purposes. You should use that, but again, keep a vigil on what these things are doing. We'll go into each of these later on when we go into the next sessions. Now, before I come to the conclusion of this, I'd like to talk about what is this business of trolling? Why do trolling happen? Why do people do this kind of hateful thing? So I think one of the reasons for that is that internet has allowed us to have fake identities, incognito identities, or hidden identities. Today, you can go to the internet and nobody would know who you are. You can just have a fake identity or hidden identity. Of course, you can have a real identity, and your friends will know. Your friends will obviously know who you are, but thousands of other people will not know who you are. So this is one of the reasons why people are able to troll. People are able to do things which they would not do on in real life. I found this little cartoon which says that this dog is saying that on the internet nobody knows you are a dog. So it's internet, I feel, is like a dark room. It's like a pitch dark room where people are sitting. Nobody knows who's sitting where, and I can abuse you. Maybe you would recognize that my voice is different from somebody else's voice, but if you can't see my face, you would not know who I am, and I can abuse you. Somebody can abuse me, and so on and so forth. So these fake identities, these incognito identities, allow the trolling and propaganda to happen. And this is what we have to be careful about, and this is what we have to address. And I believe that if I was sitting face to face with you, for example, if you are watching me on this camera, there are a lot of things like my body language, which you can see. My body language, my eyes, my face, my lips tell you a lot of things which the internet doesn't tell you. If I write a sentence, that okay, it communicates something, but it doesn't communicate in the mood in which the mood I had when I was communicating something. Like if I can if I can disagree with you but still smile at you, that would mean something else. But if I disagree with you and you don't know whether I was smiling or smirking or what, then half the communication is lost. So I think that is one of the biggest problem with the internet, that it takes away half the communication. It kind of uh, takes away a lot of things which we would have said while we were sitting face to face. So I tell my volunteers that when you are communicating on the internet, And if you find somebody trolling you or somebody abusing you, then you look at, obviously he or she is able to do that because they don't know you. If they knew you, or if you knew them, then it would have been a different situation. So try to get to know them, try to see who they are in reality. Are they really somebody truly, do they have a real identity, or is it a fake identity? And today it's possible to figure out what is a fake identity. There are many ways, there are guidelines available as to how you can figure out whether somebody's ID or somebody's profile is fake or real. Whether they are posting family pictures or not, whether whose friends they are, and so on and so forth. There are many ways, and even Facebook and Twitter, and they are also testing you whether you have a real identity or fake identity. Of course, it's also a crime to have a fake identity. You can be caught and punished and so on. But there's another aspect to this fake identity, that many of the volunteers, many of the people who are working on this, they use fake identities to do ethical things, like what we call the ethical hacking. Even there, people use fake identities, and they think that to have a fake, it is ethical to have a fake identity. So it's a big debate whether, uh, in what cases can you use a fake identity, in what cases it's not really a good idea to use a fake identity. So these are some of the things that you can keep in mind when you are on the internet. So I find that when you are doing discussions, you find various types of people during discussion. There are some people who are already convinced about our, peace and secularism and so on, and you don't have to convince them. They're already on your side. Then there are some people who you cannot convert. You cannot, you cannot convince them. However hard you try, you cannot convince them. Then there is a third variety somewhere in between. These are people who are in the middle, who could be converted with some effort, but they are the people with whom you have to be very careful. So remember these three types of people, and of course you can find gray areas between these three also. That some of people who are your friends, they are honest people. They know who you want, what you want, and they can be dealt with nicely. And some people who would never change. So, but even them, it is important to give them your message of peace and secularism and all that, so that at least they know that you are fighting for a certain cause. But these people, the third type, who are somewhere in the middle, and they are the majority. They are the majority of the people. So you have to convince these people somehow. You have to be very careful. Don't kind of offend them, because if you offend them, they will go the other side probably. So I always look at the people and see which category they belong to. Can they be converted or not? Can they be convinced by my idea or not? So these are some of the things you have to be careful about. um, Also, I believe that if you are in a debate, you have to come up with authentic sources of information. Most people don't know how to debate, because in our country, for example, in India, a large number of people are not very well educated. I'm not saying that you have to be very well educated to be honest. Even those who are not educated can be honest and they can be truthful. But many people they don't know how to authenticate facts, how to get to know the information and so on. Then they have to be open about, they have to be transparent about their identities. They have to follow a certain protocol of debating. And sometimes you don't depend only on online sources. You also have to go and find some of the offline sources and tell people that, in so book it says this, so why don't you go and read this book? And I always believe that when you are having a debate with somebody, don't offend them. Don't try to, if they are abusive towards you, if they are using bad language, don't use the same language. uh, I always believe that if they are burning a fire, if it's a fire, if a house is on fire, we don't have to put fuel into the fire. We have to put cold water into the fire. I always believe that. So whenever I see such kind of discussions happening, where somebody is giving a provocative message. So I don't provoke them further. I always try to put cold water in their fire. I put something completely different. I say, oh, but what about this, which is a positive aspect? So always treat your opponents as part of, the society, and not as enemies. This is how we have to win people who are, as I said right in the beginning, that these are people who are not well. Probably there is a communal virus or a racial virus which has affected them, and we have to treat them well. So we have to keep track of some of these things. Oh, it was just a little thing I wanted to say about discussion and debate. When we do a debate and discussion, we make an observation or a claim or an allegation. Now we have to see whether that observation is it dependent. Is it just an opinion, a belief, or is it something more factual? I'm sure some of you already are familiar with this kind of a thing, but most people I've noticed on the internet, they don't know the difference between opinion and facts. They say that they make an opinion, and they believe that this is a fact we have said. Now, this is different. So whenever you find in a discussion that somebody is making an opinion, you say that, don't come up with an opinion, come up with a fact. Tell us, how have you reached this opinion? Is there a proof that you have? Is there some substantial evidence that you have? Most people are not familiar with this kind of way of debating. Some, researchers like us, somebody who does research or investigation, we know how to do the investigation or research. We know how to come up, with a scientific method of research. But most people, they may use logic, they may use common sense, but sometimes they can't differentiate between opinions and facts. So we have to also make them aware, bring them to the level and say that, look, if you want to do a debate, do it this way. Come up with a evidence of what you are saying, and an evidence which has been verified, an evidence which many people can verify. So these are the things. So we can keep while doing a discussion. Now, just before I end, I just wanted to say that some of us are familiar with the technology of internet, but some who are not very much familiar. I think if we need to go into this, we need to be familiar with at least some of these things, basic computer and internet tools, how to search better. And I can go into the details of that in later sessions. There are also like Google has come up with a very good document which teaches you how to search better, how to search more effectively, how to take screenshots, how to organize whatever you are doing, how to download images and keep them in your, because if we have to work like a volunteer or an activist in this, we must organize our own kind of style of working. We should make maybe a folder where we keep these things. How to download videos from different websites. Of course, some of it is maybe not allowed, but there are ways to download videos. There are ways to download images. Sometimes, some websites do not allow downloading of images. I'm saying all this images, downloading or saving material, because documenting is also very important along with this investigation, because a lot of things on the internet disappear. You see something one day and then the next day it is not available. So if you find something objectionable, controversial or something, and you want to work on it, first thing is to download it and keep it in your computer, and organize it in some kind of folders. I remember a couple of months ago when there was this protest going on in Delhi, Jamia Millia, and there was this incident. The media claimed that the students went and burned some buses. I was looking on the internet, and on Twitter, I found that there was a bus which was burned in a colony, and in one of the houses, from the rooftop of a house, somebody was making a video which showed that there was some little boys and local people who came, and they were stoning a bus and trying to burn it, and there was a policeman standing there doing nothing. And those boys were not, they did not look like students from a university. They were like local people. And I said, oh, this is a proof. We can prove somebody has taken a video and we can prove that, this happened. Then I went to some other website and did something. I came back a few minutes later and that video has disappeared. I couldn't find it. I searched for several hours and I could not find that video. So it means that, whatever evidence you find, it might disappear. So you have to keep saving it, keep it with you, so that you can always prove. You can always, it's like a major investigation, like almost like a espionage kind of a thing that we are into, if we are serious about this thing. So you can learn all these things, technical expertise, how to do image search, how to do reverse image search, how to do Google Maps. Maybe you can, if you know how to do Photoshop and image processing softwares, video shooting, video editing, all these things have become very affordable, and a lot of free tools are available. How to make memes, how to write tweets, how to make posts, many of and the youngsters, the younger crowd, that they know how to do these things much better than the more the older people. You don't need to teach them. They already know how to make a video go viral. They already know how to make a tweet go viral, and so on and so forth. So a lot of youngsters are already doing this. What we need to tell them, apart from the technical aspects, technical thing is important, but apart from that, what we need to tell them is also the content. What has to be promoted, what has to be supported, or defended. So what we need to defend is this Indian constitution and the secular values and the equality and the peace and all those values are also supposed to be promoted equally, apart from the technical aspect. So I would say that whoever wants to join this movement, whoever wants to do this kind of work, apart from the technical aspects, you also need, of course, some of you already know, but we need to promote these things. Especially the younger kids, the younger generation needs to be told what is Constitution of India, what are the values it promotes, and what is tolerance, what is cultural sharing, and a little bit of history, a little bit of sociology, a little bit of scientific temper. All these things are also very important to be promoted. Only then they will know what to promote and what to support. So these are some of the things that we need to do. Oh yeah, I was talking about this meme. What is a meme? Meme is like a little an image or a video or a piece of text which people produce, and this is something that become very popular. So many of us can learn how to create these memes and post them on the social media. They become very popular ways to promote an idea. Maybe I could show you, a little political memes that I picked up on the internet. Some of them are Hindi. I don't know if some of you can follow, but some of these memes people have been creating and putting on websites. In fact, there are tools available through which you can create. I think there was a list of websites. Yeah, you can, on our websites you can find some tools on which you can create memes. You don't need to have Photoshop or image software. You can create them. There are many ways. On your mobile phone, you can create memes. Some of them are very specific, some of them are very funny, and so on and so forth. So people have been doing this. Of course, you have to be careful that it should not be something which is highly provocative, or it should not be something which breaks any laws, or if it goes against the constitution, or if it's very controversial, or if people have been arrested for creating memes or posting something online. People have been arrested for liking somebody's post. So while doing all this, we also have to be very careful, because there is a surveillance happening. There is a state which is looking at what we are doing. They're probably watching while I'm talking here with all of you. So there is we are being watched all the time. Today, our lives have become transparent. We are being watched constantly. We know somebody is sitting there. There's a big brother who's sitting there, who's watching what we are doing. So you have to be careful also. People have been arrested, people have been put sedition cases by liking somebody's post and so on. So it's a very tricky and a very complex thing, but still something needs to be done, I believe, because I keep working on it, and I'm looking for more volunteers who can work on these kind of things, and come up with creative ways, come up with creative kind of solutions to how we can fight online hate, how we can address the fake news. There are already many tools available, many things are available. So I'll just wrap up with this list once again, where in fact I'm going to send you this list by email if you want. What are the tasks that we need to do? And I would like, if you want to continue on this course, if you want to join me again next week on 6th June, then I would like you to do a little homework, maybe choose any of these tasks, and think of what you can do, how you can contribute, how much time you can give, maybe 1 hour, maybe 15 minutes a day, or maybe 3 hours a week, or whatever, one day a month, whatever you can give. It'll be really worthwhile. And again, as I said, that do this work not to show off. Many of our friends do this, that they do it and then they show off. Oh, I did this, I did this. Because we are not doing it to show off. We are doing it to genuinely make a change, to genuinely make some kind of a change in the attitudes of the people. So pick up any of these things, send me suggestions. What would you like? I can talk in detail about each of these, how to produce these things, how to kill rumors, how to do this. So in the later sessions, we will take each of these specifically, if you are interested, and we will deal with them specifically. So this is how I would like this movement. It's a movement to carry on, and if we can make some difference in society in order to make a healthy internet, an ethical internet, that will be a great thing. Because right now it's quite terrible. I mean, I don't know how many of you have been looking at some of the really rabid kind of campaigns and propaganda that is going on internet. I mean, if you are on Facebook, I would just give you one example. Go to the group of Z News. You will find it easily. Z News group. If you go there, you will go crazy. The kind of hateful messages, the kind of maligning of one community, and all sorts of fake and false things, all kinds of lies being spread. And this group, Z News group, is subscribed by some 90,000 members, or maybe 100,000 of members. And every second somebody is posting something, and then people write. And if you write something positive, if you say that, look, here is a positive story, then people will start abusing you. All kinds of things they will start doing. So I don't know. I mean, I'm actually asking you, all of you, to look at some of these rabid places and suggest what we can do. Because if you go there, you will go crazy by looking at that, and you'll say, oh, I don't want to get into this business. But I mean, that's the whole question, that should we get into this, or should we just leave it? My one friend said that, oh, don't promote this kind of a thing, just leave it as it is, because if you promote, then more people will visit it and more people will get affected. I said, no, that's not the case. Somebody needs to either you can also report it to Facebook. You can also report it to these company and say that, look what is happening on such pages. Maybe they will take action, and they do take action. So a lot of this kind of work needs to be done. So this is what I had to say, at least today. Yeah, this is just the last thing, that what is our action plan. I would suggest each one of you, if you're not already there, then you open accounts on social media, create communities, join groups, make interventions, and record and document everything. Save screenshots, write some kind of reports about what you are doing, download these images and videos, and classify everything, and look at how things are going on. And then involve more people into it, build teams, mentor them, give training. So all these things ideally like to do. I don't know how much it is possible because we are without any resources. I mean, that is also another thing, that we need to have some resources to do this kind of a thing. So this is what I wanted to basically give you as an introductory session, and later on we will come up with more things. So here I will end this screen and open it to, if anybody wants to ask any question, you are most welcome. If you want to send me any suggestions by email, you can do that also, and then we can share otherwise. Thank you.
So, will you be sharing some notes, links, etc., or some of the projects that you indicated that
Yes,
we
yes,
can
yes. I
pick
will
up?
be sharing on our website, which is called the hissedari.com. It's just a
Okay.
temporary kind of a thing. We'll come up with some other thing. So there are some many pages in which there are some tools available, and I'll be sending you a message maybe tomorrow or something about kind of
Okay.
setting up this thing, and then also the later action plan, what you can do.
Thanks. I had another question, but I think we have a few textual questions, so maybe I'll
Yeah, you can
I
send me a
can,
detailed email if you want.
yeah. So maybe I think you have a couple of questions on the chat.
Yeah.
So after that, I can ask mine.
Okay, let me see. I'm not looking at the chat right now. Yeah, Radha says, thank you for great. Where can we report the fake ID of Facebook? You can report it to Facebook. You know, on each of these platforms, you can report to Facebook, you can report to Twitter, you can report to even YouTube. I saw one video and I found it objectionable, so I reported that whole video to YouTube, saying that, you know, it has a problem. I don't know how much action they take, but at least it is our duty to keep reporting them. Radha says that there are free meme maker apps. Yeah, yeah, there are many apps which are available. You can use your photographs.
Yusuf, you said talk to your trolls also. One of
Yeah.
the things. How do you talk to your trolls? Trolls are already, they are the ones who are already on the other side. Okay, I knew that, we need to keep a conversation flowing. That I always believe in. But then people, who are completely blinded, how do you talk to them? They are not even willing to. All they want to do is, post, make you angry, and then move away. I don't think they are going to sit and wait for you.
You are
So,
right. You are right. Actually, there are all kinds of possibilities. I remember because I have been on Facebook for last 12, 15 years, and even before the coming of this Modi government in 2014, there were some groups which people had created against the idea of this guy being the prime minister and so on. And I was one of those things, and there were lesser people on that. This is in 2012, 13, and I remember that I could have some conversation. And it went on quite well with some of the trolls, but maybe not everywhere. I know, like, for example, the ZTV thing, or some other, they would not listen to you. They would just, you would have to run away from them because they would be so rabid and so. I know but I always believe that, it's like a war in which, when you are on the battlefront, you have your antis on, and there nobody would listen to you, your sensible things. It's always when your guard is down and you are a little settled down, then maybe somebody, because as I keep saying, that real life situation, real life communication is much more, is very different from the online communication. So if I could meet that person in real life at some point of time, and I could have a conversation, then probably that would be different. But I know trolls, it's very difficult to communicate with trolls.
I kind of, agree to you in the sense. I know that, there are right wingers. They follow my tours and talks and all that. But The surprising thing is they come. When I see their timeline, yes, it's all pro, Modi or something like that. But nevertheless, they come for the heritage walks. When we do in Madras,
Mm-hmm.
when you do heritage walks, taking them to the mosques or Muslim localities, they are there. During Ramzan, we take them. And this year, I couldn't do it because of this. And then I was asked by last year participants, non-Muslims, to do a virtual Ramzan heritage walk. And these guys, who also belong to the right wing, they are also part of that. They came, they
Okay.
listen. That is there. Some conversation is possible, but only if they're willing to come in person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if they're just sitting in their rooms and posting, there's no way of reaching out to those guys. That's
Exactly. No, as I said that, those three kinds of people, there are some people who you cannot change. They are already convinced that, this is the enemy and we have to fight the enemy. So you cannot change them. I mean, I know there are some people you can't, and there are some people who are already with you, and this middle ground people, they are the ones who you have to somehow very carefully deal with, and it's possible that you could that's why I know, for example, on Facebook, I have many friends, about 1600 or something friends. Some of them I don't know, and some of them I know they are kind of sort of right wing of one kind or the other. So some of them remain quiet, but a few of them respond to my messages. And some of my posts, there is a way on Facebook that you can make a post in such a way that a few friends don't see it. So sometimes I make a post which a few friends don't see and everyone else sees. So because I don't want to kind of hurt them, because they are somewhere in the middle, I don't want to totally put them off. I do that sometimes. So you have to learn how to deal with such people.
Yusuji, can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, one is these, extreme kind of messages that circulate on social media. My question is more about the WhatsApp groups that I am part of, my families on my side, on my wife's side, or friends, office colleague,
Yeah.
informal WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
So now these are groups that are not kind of rapidly, anti-Muslim or something like that. But there's a definite support for the kind of extreme right-wing politics that's there around. And the difficulty that I'm having is, if you kind of want to raise some of these issues, um, there are, either they just don't want to engage in that discussion
Yeah.
on those groups. So because these are immediate,
Family.
people that we know, family. Um, I was wondering, is there a way of, creating that space for that kind of a debate? Because these guys, maybe, up till about 10 years ago, were probably closer to the middle ground, and you could at least engage in a discussion. But now they are refusing to discuss.
Mm. Yeah.
If you are critical of the politics.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing, actually. I know family groups are really tricky, and I myself have faced this. And in fact, I left my family group because I had a lot of disagreement with them. Um, I guess you have to be careful and you have to keep trying in some way. It depends on your relationship with each of those members, whether they are
Yeah,
younger,
yeah,
older. Sometimes it happens that the younger people, they receive a message from an older person and they say, oh, if it has been sent by my uncle or father, then it must be true, then I have to forward it further. So that happens.
yeah.
So, you can find some things which, I always believe that one thing which we have to do is to give them more exposure, a wider exposure, because most of these people have a very limited, a very narrow way of thinking. They have not been exposed to a lot of things. So one thing is to give them a lot of exposure, talk about, things which are beyond our community, beyond our culture, give them some news, link of a news which is from some other thing, something positive, like this community did this, or this person did this, or this person achieved something like this. So I always come up with these positive links or news items, and I post them, which kind of changes the whole scenario in some way. I mean, those links may be very, naive, and it might affect in some way. They might think that, at least, as I keep saying that, if there is a fire burning, you have to put cold water on that fire. So think of those cold water, kind of things. How can you put cold water on the fire? That is how I like to run it. I think this Rahul ji has,
And so,
yeah,
hi,
yeah,
this is
please,
Priyanka here.
yeah.
I'll just like to quote one cartoon that I was seeing one of these days when a daughter is telling her dad that why are you forwarding this? This is a fake news.
Mm-hmm.
And he is saying that how can it be fake? Because this is what I also think. So most of the times, the logic, the evidence, the argument does not work because people are conditioned in one way
Yeah,
and they want to believe it, come what may.
yeah,
So I think there is a bigger problem where that conditioning needs to be reconditioned. And
exactly.
as you said, if the right wingers are trying to do this, they're trying to catch them young. We need to save them young.
Uh-huh.
When they start the brainwash of a younger generation, as soon as they have some IQ to gather things, then probably we as someone who are fighting for the cause should also try to save them young. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to figure out ways how to do
Mm.
those things. So there are two things. One is that conditioning, which is like, I want, this is how I think, that's why I'll believe it. As many
Mm. Priyanka, we lost you. I think I can't hear you. Anyone else wants to ask anything? Can you hear me? Are we still on? Hello.